sing together today. Masks are celebrated and encouraged, not required, but for singing, it's not a bad idea, especially with the new variant that's rolling around the country, and hopefully we won't get hit with it too hard, but we're going to keep tracking the color coding and see where we land. So that's the good news for today. We get to sing together.
Please join me in the call to worship. In Advent, we watch and wait.
We prepare to welcome the Christ child into the world.
Come, Holy Child, come.
In Advent, we prepare for a life of discipleship.
We watch for signs of God's presence breaking into the world.
Come, Holy Child, come.
We watch for signs of God's divine nature in each of us.
Actions of compassion and grace toward each other and creation.
Come, Holy Child, come.
Come, Holy Child. Remind us of our divine essence and holy calling to peace. And now let us bring ourselves fully to this time and to this place. There's so much to do this time of year. It might seem like peace is hard to come by. That centeredness, that settledness. And this is an opportunity for us to find that center, to be intentional about being in this place and at this time. There's so much that we do automatically. We don't have to think about so many things. For instance, when we drive, we know when to hit the clicker and the gas and the clutch if you happen to drive a stick. We know how to open a door and walk through it. We don't tell our hand what to do, but right now we're going to be very intentional about what our body is doing, and we're going to pay attention to its movements. Breathe in and out. Find your body and be grateful for its sensations. Be grateful for the way that it's automated in so many things that are familiar. But live into the intention at this moment of how you move your body. And the same is true of our thinking. So many opportunities for our mind to just go on automatic pilot. But right now, be intentional with your thinking. Pay attention to where you are in your thoughts. What's rolling across the screen of your mind? Breathe into it, breathe out. There's so much our mind can do without us even knowing, but right now, get a hold of where you are. And the same is true emotionally. There's so many emotions that happen spontaneously, and they're spot on, and sometimes emotions happen spontaneously, and we think, that's not the emotion I really want to have at this moment. That's an automatic response because of the past, because of my fears. Sometimes it's an automatic response because of something that you just know is wonderful. This has always been good. But right now, as we're together in this place, in person or virtually, take into consideration all of your emotions and where they are and how they're moving through you. And breathe in and out. And consider your spirit. That part of us that we say to ourselves, I'm going to be intentional about meditation or prayer or any number of spiritual practices, and and we don't, and we think our spirit isn't engaged. But the truth is, just like our body and our thoughts and our emotions, our spirits have automatic ways of responding to things. Be grateful for that. Breathe into that, exhale from it, and become attuned right now to your spirit's working. Meditate on your connection to your whole self and all of the aspects of your being. Meditate on your connection with the divine, our holy love. And meditate on your connection spiritually with one another, here in this room or across geography, as we engage with each other technologically. Get a sense of your spiritual connection one with another, as we bring ourselves fully to this time and this place. And now I invite you to sing together, O Little Town of Bethlehem.
It is the season of short days and long nights. We light these candles to remember that even in natural darkness, our lights shine. Let us lift up the flame of our souls as guides to all who need a safe place to live, a shelter from violence, and a friend.
Thank you. Let us join our hearts in a moment of prayer. Holy love, during these short days and these long nights, we do remember people who are in peril, people who are having a tough time, who aren't finding peace. And we ask you to protect them, to shine on them in the midst of those long nights so that they can get a sense of your presence And for those of us that are gathering who might be among them, bless us with a sense of you, but one that doesn't have to come in any particular way that we've been taught that it should come. Help us to get that sense of you in the way that we need it, and to remember that your presence is always with us. That while we call upon you, you do not need to be conjured. And yet, when we call upon you, you listen. So for all who are in need during this holiday season, we lift up our voices. We ask these prayers, and we celebrate one another because we're so grateful that we get to be in each other's lives and that we get to cross paths with people that we might never have if we hadn't been open to experiencing relationships, to experiencing people where they are. And because we feel this calling to be church together, we lift up our voices in this prayerful song.
Each week, we collect 2 offerings. One is for the church, which goes into our general fund for the running of the church and our ministries. The second is the loose offering, which is sent to a designated charity, which changes each week. If you brought your offering in person today, you're welcome to drop it in the offering box in the back. It's the glass church near the doors to the narthex. Our loose offering today will go to NAMI, which stands for National Alliance on Mental Illness. They envision a world where all people affected by mental illness live healthy, fulfilling lives supported by a community that cares. They provide advocacy, education, support, and public awareness. Through our financial contributions to NAMI, we help to ensure that individuals or families are not alone on their mental health journey. If you'd like to give to our general fund, to the loose offering, or to both, you can use bill pay from your bank, send us a check, use the Plymouth app, or use PushPay according to the directions on your screen. As always, thank you for supporting Plymouth and the ministries of the loose offering. Please join us in the offertory prayer. Even during Advent, a time set aside for waiting, it is often very hard for us to wait. Our world worships the power that acts quickly through force.
The time, talent, and treasure of this offering is a way for us to act, a way for us to bring the beloved kingdom here to earth.
We open our hearts and spirits to a new birth and transformation.
We commit what we have gathered to help us sow seeds of peace into the world. Now it's time for the children. Do I have a children? Do I have a children that wants to come up? Hiya. And hopefully we've got some children that are watching online too. You're getting all zen, love it. You're my zen dude. So my father had a joke, but to know the joke, you have to understand a little context, a little background on it. So there was this dude named Napoleon. And Napoleon, do you know who Napoleon was? Probably not. You might be too young. I don't know if they know. Some of them might know who Napoleon is. These people do. But I don't know if the kids watching online know who Napoleon is. So Napoleon was a leader of a country who became a conqueror, and he wanted to take over the whole world. He was why? Because he was ruthless, and he was power hungry, and he didn't have a conscience. He just wanted to take over everything. So he would go into a country and try to conquer it. And my father had a joke. My father said the only thing that Napoleon wanted was peace. He wanted a piece of Italy, a piece of France, a piece of Australia, a piece of Germany, a piece of Japan. Because there's two different kinds of peace, right? So there's the peace that
people like.
Yeah, Zen. Yeah.
Some meditate, some
Yeah.
war.
Right, and then there's the piece that, well, here's a piece.
Peace of love.
Here's a piece. I mean, you've got this thing, and we take it apart into little pieces, right? So what I want to know is, do you have peace? Or do you have pieces? Right? We want to have that kind of Zen peace, but sometimes we feel like we're all broken up into little pieces. Yeah. So how do we put ourselves back together again when we're all ripped up?
You can tape it,
You can tape it.
or you get another one.
Is it easy? Is it easy to put that back together? That one's not too hard, right? Because there's just a few out. But what if you feel like everything about you, and I can't rip this up because I have to actually use it? That would make my life really hard right now for the next, half hour. But what if this got all torn up? It'd be really hard to put it back together. And this is where God comes in. Sometimes we feel like we're all ripped up and we just don't know how to put ourselves back together. God can help us. God's peace can help us put together our pieces. Sometimes it's not like that. It's not like, okay, God, I'm all in pieces, so give me peace. Oh, I feel so much better.
Instead of those snapping, make something better.
Right? It's like, Daddy, I want curry. Boom, it's on the table. Is that how it works?
No.
No. How long does it take to make curry? 1,000,000 years when you're hungry, right? You're just like, I'm so hungry, I want this now. So it doesn't work like a snap or anything, but God is better than tape. God is better than glue, because God is holy love.
Yes.
And can help us to put ourselves back together so that maybe we don't even see where the rips are. Maybe we know where the rips are, and that reminds us, okay, that was an experience, and I don't necessarily want to repeat it. Sometimes we need those scars to help us to remember that, but we're still healed and we're put back together. Will you pray with me?
Yes.
Repeat after me. Oh God,
Oh God,
I want your peace,
I want your peace.
the Zen kind,
The Zen kind.
the centering, calming, wonderful kind.
The centering, calming, wonderful kind.
But sometimes I feel all ripped up in pieces.
But I feel
Help me, O God, to trust you with all my pieces,
trust with all my peace.
the tender, frayed edges, and the center of the pieces that are held when they get put back together.
And the center of the pieces when they get put back together.
We thank you for your healing touch
Thank you for your healing touch
and your amazing presence.
and your amazing presence.
We love you, God,
We love you, God,
and we know that you love us.
and we know you love us.
And all God's children said, Amen. Good job. Thank you for coming up. Do you want to take my pieces, or do you want me to hold on to them?
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured I should take care of my own pieces, shouldn't I?
Do it while meditating.
You do it well meditating.
A reading from the book of Baruch, chapter 5, verses 1 through 4. Take off the garment of your sorrow and affliction, O Jerusalem, and put on forever the beauty of the glory from God. Put on the robe of the righteousness that comes from God. Put on your head the diadem of the glory of the everlasting. For God will show your splendor everywhere under heaven. For God will give you evermore the name, righteous peace, godly glory.
Our second reading today is from the Gospel of Matthew. It says this: as you go, proclaim the good news. The kingdom of heaven has come near. Cure the sick, raise the dead, cleanse the lepers, cast out demons. By the way, just as an aside, how's that going? You curing the sick and casting out demons and raising the dead? I haven't had as much luck with those particular things as I have with other things. Anyway, he says, you received without payment, give without payment. That one's a little bit easier to do. Take no gold or silver, copper in your belts, no bag for your journey, or 2 tunics or sandals or a staff, for laborers deserve their food. Whatever town or village you enter, find out who in it is worthy. Stay there. Stay there until you leave. As you enter the house, greet it. If the house is worthy, let your peace come upon it. If it's not worthy, let your peace return to you. If anyone will not welcome you or listen to your words, shake off the dust from your feet as you leave that house or that town. That's the second reading. Now, both of our readings for today teach us to be action takers. Baruch tells the people to take off their robe of sorrow and affliction and to put on the splendor that God gives them. The writer of Matthew shares a teaching of Jesus is that we are to be the ones who make a difference in the lives of others for good. So whether you can raise the dead or not is irrelevant. The point is, can you raise somebody up? Can you lift them up? Can you help to heal something about their pieces so that they can find some kind of peace? We are to be the action takers, the givers. Jesus was initiating a new level of involvement for his followers, which means it's for us too. Here's the thing: Jesus didn't need to be the superstar. His goal was for the good news to be spread and for healing and wholeness work to be as widespread as possible, and he couldn't do it all. That meant he had to get others involved. Now it's your turn. I've taught you all that you need to know. Go out into the neighboring towns and villages and do these things that I'm doing. He tells them that when they enter a house, they are to greet it, the building. Then he talks about the people that they're going to be encountering. The house in this teaching is comprised of the energy contained in the space, the people of the past and their actions and thoughts, as well as the people currently there. The house is like the total package. Have you ever gone somewhere, walked into a building, any kind of a place, and gotten vibes? Got a sense of, I feel really comfortable here. Or you start to walk in and you're like, I know. And you leave. And it could be a building, it could be a house, it could be a corporation, it could be a park, a neighborhood, water, big water, like a lake, an ocean. It could be any place where you start to enter into that space and you get a sense of whether you're welcome or not. Sometimes these vibes come from stories that we've been told. So we have a preconceived notion of if it's going to be a good or a bad thing, and so we follow that. But sometimes these things come out of nowhere and we know that they're real. They're real for us right then. Jesus' teaching is, if the house is worthy, let your peace come upon it. So depending on the sense you get, you determine whether you should stay or go. If it seems like a good place to stay, offer your peace. If it isn't, go. And take your peace with you. What is included in this notion of peace? When I enter a space and offer my peace, what does that mean? As I meditate on this notion of carrying around this kind of peace within me, I think about trust, openness, vulnerability, strength, confidence, humility, aspects of being which contribute to my peace, to your peace, aspects of being which may seem contradictory, but really aren't. Confidence and humility. Do you think of those things as opposites? To be truly humble, you have to be confident. Otherwise, instead of humility, you have insecurity. And humility and insecurity are not the same thing. Or instead of confidence, you have arrogance or false bravado. When we offer our peace, we might think that we have to release it and hope it gets treated well. But this teaching says that if it isn't, it can return to us. We can take it back. The peace we offer is a bit of ourselves to weave into what is already there. But when you think about things like this, it's like, well, how can I get it back? If you're a painter, which I've tried, and I'm terrible, so I know, you make this painting, you make these marks on this canvas or paper or whatever, and then you're like, well, that looks terrible. You can't take that back. Now, a felt board, you can. But a painting, you have to paint over it, don't you? And it feels like when I offer my peace, maybe it's like this paint on this canvas and I'll never be able to get it back. But Jesus says that's not the case. The risk of a gift, like our peace, it might feel like a risky thing to give. What if it isn't received? Well, the teaching says, take it back. You can extract it, bring it home, back into your soul and into your spirit, and it will come back. And it will come back clean. When we think about something entering a contaminated space, we might think, well, I don't want it now. Food falls into the garbage disposal. I do not pick it out and eat it. I don't want it. So we might think our peace gets yuck all over it, but it doesn't. Or it doesn't have to. Baruch said, take off the robe that isn't of God, the robe that brings you down. Take it off. When I take this robe off at the end of service, it's off. When I put it on, it's on. Take off the robe that's harmful to you. Just set it aside. And then put on the robe that lifts you up, the one that makes you beautiful, the one that gives you life. We're in the second Sunday of Advent. Peace Sunday. Advent means waiting or to wait, anticipating. We're anticipating Jesus' birth, the one called the Prince of Peace. At the same time, we're celebrating what happened a long time ago. We remember those who had to wait, but now is the time for us to see ourselves as agents. Even before the birth of God's anointed, the Christ, the prophet Baruch declared that God's words were that the people take off what was dragging them down and put on what was giving them life. How much more now do we take that to heart? When we pick up the robe of God's life-giving nature, Baruch says God will give you evermore the name righteous peace, godly glory. This peace is what we have to give. It's also what we have to take back. It's an extension of the gift that we've already been given by God, by God's holy love. The spirit of it is energized by this divine love, and nothing can taint it. Your mistakes can't taint it. The abuse of it by others can't taint it. It comes from holy love and is yours to flow through you to wherever you deem it worthy to flow from you. When there comes a time when you have to take it back, when you have to bring your peace back because of a situation, a relationship, you may have to grieve. That's different than it being tainted, your experience, having to grieve something. Bringing your peace home to yourself, to your soul, to your spirit, allows your own peace to minister to you, to comfort you, to make you strong. Your own familiar peace, which comes directly from holy love, makes you an agent of healing to yourself so that you can once again go from your center, go out and offer yourself your peace without hesitation, because you know it's yours to give, yours to take up again. So this week, meditate on that intersection of your strength and vulnerability, your confidence and your humility, your openness and your wisdom, your trust and your discernment. At the center of all those is your peace. Practice walking with it. Practice giving it out. Practice taking it back, letting it come home to you. Think of all the places that your peace has been extended, and you're happy it's still there. It might be a memory of a time with a best friend, a time you experienced the presence of God in a certain place, and now that place holds something of you in the most beautiful way. So speaking of places, here's an example. A long time ago, I was a member of a church, and then I moved on. I wasn't a member there anymore. I would pass by the church because I had so many pivotal, life-giving moments there. I knew that wasn't my community anymore for any number of reasons, but that space, the building and the energy inside still meant a lot to me. Then I learned that a nearby hospital was expanding. That's good news. Except that they bought the land and they tore down the church. That landmark of life-giving moments for me. So while they were tearing it down, I would go by the church. First, I could drive by it. But then they had construction so that they put dead ends in the road. So I had to walk on the other side of the street. And every time I passed by it, I kind of downloaded my peace back, bit by bit, so that it wasn't being demolished. I wasn't being demolished. I was bringing it back home and saying, now those memories live inside of me. The sense of knowing those walls so well, looking out those windows, hearing the familiar echo when you talk to someone. I mean, every room has its own audio acoustical differences, right? Remembering that, I'm going to bring that into my own body, into my soul. We can do that. You can do that. We don't have to be fragmented with our peace. The celebration of Jesus as Christ is a reminder that God is close to us. The holy is intertwined with us, and that we are given the power to pick it up, to give, and to take it back. Meditate on your peace. Practice its fluidity. Know that God's gift to you is always life-giving. Wear it as a robe and know that your name is righteous peace, godly glory. And that brings us to the communion table today. Does everybody have a little communion kit? You know, at that table, when Jesus was sitting with his friends, he knew the risk that he was under. He was anticipating something was coming next. And so he sat at this table with his friends, and when he picked up the bread, and he gave thanks for it, and then he broke it, and he said, "This is my body, and I give it to you." Was that not Jesus saying, I want you to have my peace? I want you to have something of me, and I want you to keep it close to you? He trusted them with the very essence of his own self. And this is where that intersection of pieces being in pieces and having peace kind of comes together in this moment. He knew that they would have greater peace if he gave them pieces of his peace. And so today, we remember that moment. We remember his willingness to share. And we take and eat in remembrance of Christ. And like we talked about the fluidity of peace, Jesus comes to the cup and he pours it out and he gives thanks for it. He blesses it and he passes it around saying, "Everyone drink from this. Everyone take of me once again, because this is my life essence." He called it his blood. We know what blood does now. It spreads throughout the body. It rejuvenates, it helps to heal us. It does so many things. "This is who I am," he said. "Take it, every one of you." And so today, we take and drink in remembrance of Jesus. Would you join your hearts with mine in prayer? Holy love, we have taken in the symbols of your gifts, of who you are, the substance and the very essence. And these gifts are tactile. Help us to remember this moment when we feel like we are in pieces and we need to be gathered together in peace. And may this moment bring about the memory of the gifts, and that we're not alone, and that we can pick things up, take them back again, and then offer them again, just as you have offered the bread and the cup to people, not only around that table that day, but throughout the years and the generations that we have been doing this ritual. We thank you for this way of being tactile in knowing you and in knowing one another. Amen. And now, my friends, it's time to go from this place to whatever it is that you have next. We will be having some fellowship. We've got a little bit of food. We've got some mulled cider if you want to just sit around the table and talk and get to know one another better. So be blessed if you choose to join us at fellowship, or if you are needing to go home. And for those of you on YouTube, be blessed knowing that God's peace mends all of your pieces, and that you are strong, and you are beloved, and you can pick up the robe you need to pick up and take down the robe you need to take down, and that you can inspire others to do the same, so that we, as people of this earth, created by holy love, can support each other and bring about the greater peace that we need so incredibly much. Go forth then, my friends, in peace and as peacemakers.